Because once again, it happens. Some flavor of left wing gets upset and things burn. And does everyone else notice this pattern? Because I know the media pretends to not notice the pattern. And I think there's some dumb people out there, or people who are bubbled up enough or brainwashed enough to buy it. But it doesn't matter what it is. If there's a riot, it could be like a race riot, like George Floyd. It could be some riot and some violence happening on behalf of the pro-Palestinian protesters, whether or not they're shooting people coming out of the back, or the other Palestinian activists that, like the guy that drove the car through the crowd. It keeps coming up over and over. These violent actions, things catch on fire. There's different reasons, but they all fit under the umbrella of a Team Blue constituency. Now, newsflash, I think you've probably noticed that before. But whether or not they come out and tell you, you have to think that this is pushing people away every time you get upset. Or maybe, look, I shouldn't talk in generalities like that, because one of the defining features of this is, you're right, it's not every Democrat city is having a riot, but every city that has a sustained riot for more than a couple hours is a lefty city. If something's on fire, I don't know what flavor it is, but it's of the left wing. So it could be the Palestinians, could be a race thing. Today, it's ICE raids. So in Los Angeles, there's a bunch of ICE raids that were happening, and some people came out, and they were blocking cars. Now, it got really heated really fast, because I think this was on Friday, right after the James show, that someone was trying to block an ICE vehicle. There was like a caravan of ICE vehicles leaving after some arrests were made. And some guy wouldn't get out from in front of the car. So the cop would slowly go forward, and the guy would backpedal in front of it, and the cop would slowly go forward, and the guy would backpedal in front of it. And at some point, he lost his footing, fell backward, bonked his head on the pavement, and died, which is unfortunate. It's terrible. I wish it didn't happen. Total tragedy here. But this is that's when people started to get paying real attention to this. Because here's another time that side of the aisle is taking the side of anti-Americans. Isn't that wild? Is there anyone that ever just loves America that riots like this? But you can guarantee the patterns are being sustained here. They even did some looting yesterday, and I think they're going to do something today, like right as the James show starting. Or no, that's 2 p.m. There's another somewhat organized activity that's supposed to happen at 2 p.m. Pacific time. So wouldn't that be like 4 o'clock our time? I'll keep an eye on it. But stores are being looted. So stores are being looted. It's not the Tea Party. No one's ever looted a store in a MAGA hat. And once stores are looted, then this isn't about politics. Because no one believes, I have this grievance with the way the government is, administering its statecraft, so I need to go get a new pair of Air Force Ones. That never happens. That's not, no one's thinking that. People are just exploiting existing chaos to enrich themselves. Pretty ugly stuff, but it only happens in one direction. It doesn't happen from Team Red. Has there ever been a right-wing looting? Absolutely not. I don't even think there's been a right-wing riot. I was going through, who was telling me? Was that Casey? I was talking to Casey Bartholomew earlier today, and he said this one time in Trenton in like 2011, there was a Tea Party rally, and something caught on fire. I'm like, well, was it a car? Was it a dumpster? He's like, I don't remember what it was. But okay, even if that's true, that's almost like the exception that proves the rule. So one time there was like a lawn that caught on fire, or a dumpster that caught on fire 14 years ago. We've had more fires than that this weekend. And this is escalating from the guy that bunked his head to now we have Trump calling in the National Guard, talking about calling in the Marines. And so I don't think we're done with this thing escalating. I think one side wants to put it down. I think the other side wants it to burn. And so who are we talking about here? Because you and I have seen here in Dallas or in Houston or in many other red states or red-ish metropolitan areas, this doesn't happen. This doesn't happen in Dallas. This doesn't happen in Houston. You know how wild that is? George Floyd is from Houston. His family's from Houston. He spent most of his life in Houston, and they didn't have riots there, but they did have them in Portland. They had them in Seattle, and they had them in Minneapolis, and they had them in St. Louis, and they had them in dozens of other places. But that you can't say, well, that's because Republicans are in charge. Republicans aren't in charge of squat in Harris County. Very little here, except now our mayor converted parties. Very good on you, Eric. But it's a choice. If there's a riot that lasts an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, anything longer than that, it's because the people in charge on the ground don't want it to stop. So if this happens for 3 days, you know damn well Gavin Newsom is okay with it. The governor of California, the mayor of Los Angeles, Karen Bass, you know she's okay with it. What is their end game? What are they doing? Now, look, I'm not saying they're the ones who went out there and left pallets of bricks, which I've seen that rumor and pictures floating around again. But why do they want this? Why do they let this happen? Do they think this will help them? I think it actually might. As terrible as it is, as much as it pushes you away, it pushes me away too. I got a friend who put a microphone out in the street in Los Angeles right now, so we can just go check in to what's going on in L.A. at any time. Can we turn on the L.A. mic, the L.A. feed? Oh, okay. So they're just a normal day in L.A.? Except there's some cars on fire? Where'd they get all the swords? That sounds suspiciously like a battle scene from Braveheart. But, I'm going to be talking about the L.A. riots today because there's just so much goodness in here. I would like to point out that for people who live, like where I'm sitting right now is in the middle of downtown Dallas. If you drive like an hour and a half in any direction, you're in a completely different planet. You're outside of the bubble. You're living in the country. I'm from a tiny town. And when we watch this stuff on TV, we just start popping popcorn because some people are like, this is scary. This is really concerning. Not if you live in a small town. This isn't something you deal with. This is something you watch on TV. Isn't that weird? That the ICE raids can happen in a small town. We can have, people who are upset about the Palestinian situation in a small town, but cars never catch on fire. Why? Because it is a choice to have a riot. First off, you have to have a giant population of people who are dumb enough or angry enough or brainwashed enough to do this. And then also you have to have everyone else be willing to stand down. Well, if it only happens in a hyper-select tiny geographic anomalies, then there's something wrong with the people in charge of those jurisdictions. Do we agree? 800-288-9227. Now, keep coming with the jokes. I love you people, you amateur comedians. God, you crack me up. Almost every time I go to break, I bet you I'm going to hear a joke today. Robert on Facebook. First break of the show. He says, this shows California isn't serious about emission standards on cars. The riots are contributing to their pollution. Good point. Solid point. So I guess, Robert, on Facebook, the lesson here is California only cares about car pollution if you're driving it. If you set the car on fire, that's fine. That carbon dioxide being put in there, that doesn't count. Burning tires and, vaporizing lithium-ion batteries, that's fine. That's fine. That doesn't even count toward your carbon cap. That's good. It's for social justice. It's good for you. Why don't you go over there and take a big huff of it? But just enjoying the reaction here because once you establish that this is a choice, the leaders on the ground there, the mayor of Los Angeles, whoever's in charge of Los Angeles County, the sheriff's department, all the way up to the governor, they have to stand by and let this happen because now we're on day 4. And so when they come under fire, it's interesting to see what their reaction is. Hey, what do you think about this riot? You got to love this riot. You're the one letting it happen. So let's focus here on Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, who is a little miffed today because Donald Trump is calling in the National Guard when he didn't ask for it, and he says we don't need it. Oh, we don't need it? Nope. Gavin Newsom says this. Ignore what you're seeing on TV. Ignore the burning cars. Ignore the flying bricks. Ignore the people getting run over, blocking highways and attacking cop cars. This is a manufactured crisis. Boy, that takes a pair.
We're here to support local law enforcement, the sheriff's office, LAPD, but they didn't need that support. He made this up. This is a manufactured crisis in order to get under the tent to start to stretch credulity and to begin the process of moving inevitably towards a constitutional question and crisis around posse comitatus. And it's, I think, inevitable. That's where he's going.
Yeah, posse comitatus, the National Guard's not supposed to be able to be used in states unless the governor approves of it. Yeah, this is manufactured. We didn't need it. We didn't need any help. Well, that's not what the LAPD police chief said. His name's McDonald. He had a press conference yesterday saying we were overwhelmed.
We are overwhelmed as far as the number of people out there engaged in this type of activity and the type of things that they're doing. They'll take backpacks, and the backpack will have a cinder block in it. They have a hammer, and they'll break up the cinder block and use that, pass it around to throw at officers, to throw at cars, and throw at other people. We've seen people with hammers, and you've broadcasted breaking the bollards behind the federal building and taking the rocks, if you will, or pieces of concrete, and throwing them at officers. We've had liquid of who knows what description thrown at officers. There's no limit to what they're doing to our officers.
Have right-wingers ever done that? The Tea Party protesters, they ever go to a federal building, take hammers, start beating off chunks of the bollards? You know what a bollard is? It's those big things in front of the grocery store or in front of a big box store that keeps your car from running into it. So if a car does try and run into the front of the store, it won't hit the glass. It'll hit the bollard and stop. So people were taking hammers, knocking off chunks of the concrete there, and throwing it. Tea Party ever do that? Did they? What about any MAGA crowd? Did they ever do that? Does that ever happen at a MAGA rally of any sort? So Gavin Newsom says we didn't need him there. But the LA Police Chief McDonald says we were overwhelmed. So it sounds like Gavin Newsom might be wildly, let's just be nice, he's wildly uninformed about what the cops did or didn't need. Worst case scenario is he knows and he's just lying to everyone's face. But Newsom doesn't stop there. He also blames not just Trump for pretending there's a manufactured crisis. In the next breath, he blames Trump for inciting the violence. Well, was there a crisis or not? Did Trump incite a crisis? But there's not a crisis. Okay, let's hear from this one.
Stephen Miller, other people have used the word insurrection about the activity on the streets of Los Angeles.
Yeah, this is just, they're trying to incite violence. They're trying to impose the kind of rhetoric that only makes the conditions worse, that quite literally put people's lives at risk.
Okay, Trump's fault. Got it. And Gavin Newsom also responding to Tom Homan. You know what? I should probably play Tom Homan first. Tom Homan was asked, are you planning on arresting Gavin Newsom? And he's like, well, I will if they do something wrong, but they haven't done anything wrong yet. I just want you to hear this first before you hear Newsom's response.
You've also mentioned Mayor Karen Bass and Governor Gavin Newsom, and there have been threats, previously that if you stand in the way of your enforcement operations, you could be subject potentially to arrest. Are you saying that about Mayor Bass and Governor Newsom? Are they at risk of being arrested?
I'll say it about anybody. You cross that line. It's a felony to knowingly harbor and conceal an illegal alien. It's a felony to impede law enforcement from doing their job.
Do you think that the mayor of LA is doing that?
If she crossed that line, we'll ask the DOJ to prosecute. Do I think she's crossed the line? I don't think she's crossed the line yet. But I'm telling you, the warning we're sending is we're not going to tolerate people attacking our officers.
There, so he didn't say anything specific about Gavin Newsom. He was like, anybody who impedes ICE officers is subject to arrest. Have they crossed the line? No, they haven't crossed the line yet. If they do, I'll arrest them. And so Newsom is asked about Tom Homan's comments just there. A lot happened this weekend while we were playing around. But Newsom turns on the tough guy act. Come arrest me, tough guy.
Tom Homan, the border czar, said to me yesterday he did not rule out literally arresting you, Mayor Bass, if you interfere in his words. He said you hadn't yet.
He's a tough guy. Why doesn't he do that? He knows where to find me. But you know what? Lay your hands off 4-year-old girls that are trying to get educated. Lay your hands off these poor people. They're just trying to live their lives, man. Trying to live their lives, paying their taxes. Been here 10 years. The fear, the horror. The hell is this guy? Come after me, arrest me. Let's just get it over with. Tough guy. I don't give a damn. But I care about my community. I care about this community. The hell are they doing?
Oh, man. I'm literally shaking in my boots over here. Gavin Newsom calling you a tough guy. Come get me. He didn't say he wanted to come get you. Relax. While we were getting all caught up in the last segment, Donald Trump came down and he did a brief statement. I went back and listened to it. It was okay. He took a couple questions. They were fine. But then I found a great question. Peter Ducey from Fox News asked him this about 10 minutes ago.
If you look at recent history, somebody who was running for president, who got arrested and had a mugshot, you could make the argument that politically that wound up helping you. Are you worried at all at this moment that talking about him getting arrested could be helpful to his political prospects? Because a lot of people think he wants to be sitting right where you are.
Well, in my case, it was a witch hunt, and everybody knew it. And I was able to explain that during the process. Otherwise, I wouldn't be sitting here right now. And it was a total witch hunt. It's proven to be a witch hunt, and you see what's happened. In his case, it really is very obvious. You look at what's happened between the fires. I could name 10 things right now. We talk about the trains. We talk about all of the costs in California. You talk about all of the people that are flowing and destroying life for everyone else. So no, I don't think it's going to help him. I think it's actually very bad for him.
And right around the time that we were walking in here, the governor and the state attorney general said that they're going to sue you for sending the National Guard in. They're saying there's no invasion, there's no rebellion. The president is trying to manufacture chaos and crisis on the ground for his own political ends. Federalizing the California National Guard is an abuse of the president's authority under law.
Well, it's interesting. You watched the same clips as I did. Cars burning all over the place, people rioting. And by the way, we stopped it. We were able to make it much better, but it still looked pretty bad. And in watching clips last night, people were saying this is really a big problem. And until we went in, if we didn't do the job, that place would be burning down just like the houses burned down. They were in big trouble last night, Peter. You know it. And the night before, and the night before that. And I feel we had no choice. I don't want to see happen what happened so many times in this country. I watched Minneapolis burn. Look at what happened in so many different parts of California. You take a look at what happened in San Diego. There's so many different places where we let it burn. We want to be politically correct. We wanted to be nice. We want to be nice to the criminal. And what you're doing is destroying the fabric of our life in this country. No, we did the right thing. All
right, we'll cut it off there. But that's the best question of the day, probably. Maybe one of the top 5. Does Gavin Newsom want to be arrested? Because you saw what happened to Donald Trump when he got arrested. It made him more popular. So that's a legit concern. If you address Gavin Newsom, because Gavin Newsom's like, arrest me, tough guy. Gavin Newsom is not scared of being arrested because he knows that he's one of the privileged elites. He's the governor of a state. He's going to go get his mugshot. They'll do his fingerprints. He'll just go wash his hands and be back out on the street in a matter of minutes. And it'll probably elevate him to the top of the conversation on a par with Donald Trump. And so Donald Trump does risk making a martyr out of the guy. But you remember when the congressional delegation went to Delaney Hall in New Jersey to the ICE detention facility, and they were begging to be arrested. Come arrest me. So I don't think you can be that dismissive. Gavin Newsom probably really does want to be arrested, which Gavin Newsom's acceleration to the top of the Democrat candidate heap is kind of predicated on how bad these rioters get. Because the worse they get, the more action is going to have to be taken. And so this is good. This is good for Gavin Newsom. We weren't talking about Gavin Newsom when cars weren't on fire. We weren't talking about Gavin Newsom when people could drive down the 101 without being blocked off. We weren't talking about Gavin Newsom last week. Now we are. This is so good for him. And so this is terrible for the rest of the people in Los Angeles County because the incentive structure is against them. The more they suffer, the more that their property is damaged and burned, the more bricks are thrown through windows and stores are looted, the more cop cars are stopped in the middle of the road and people are dropping stuff, the better Gavin Newsom's position in the world gets. What does that tell you about him? 800-288-9227. This harkens back to what Jasmine Crockett said just a month ago. This is her on May 10th, kind of hinting that Gavin Newsom is the chosen one thus far. What do the donors want? What do the party elites want? What does the machine want for the Democrat candidate in 2028 thus far? And Jasmine kind of let it slip. Sounds like she's talking about Gavin Newsom here.
It is this fear that the people within the party, within the primary system, will have about voting for a woman, because every time we voted for a woman, we've lost so far. And I think that that's a natural fear because we just want to win. So there's a lot of people that are like, you know what? Like, let's go find the safest white boy we can find. I mean, I'm just saying.
Those are the callers that we're hearing. We're hearing people.
No, for real.
A white man's got to do it. We're getting those callers.
For real. And to be clear, when we talk about them, I can tell you that there is one specific candidate. I had a donor on the phones with me telling me that all the donors are lining up behind that candidate. So I can tell, and I can tell you, it's not a black person nor woman. Okay, so like it is, they have, quote unquote, they have chosen. And when I say they, it's the same donors that most likely had their opinions about Joe Biden and move. So like that would be the they that I would talk about.
Yeah, so a couple of betrayals there. The fact that they just meet behind closed doors and all the donors and party apparatchiks decide who the candidate's going to be. And then they come out and they tell their voters, this is going to be your candidate. And the voters are like, yes, I will do anything you say. Trump, orange man, bad. So Jasmine's telling the truth there. But in two ways, she's kind of telling secrets. Number one, they already have their candidate picked out. And that sounded like, didn't that sound like she's talking about Gavin Newsom? Safe little white boy? Not my words. So that's one of them, that it's Gavin Newsom, and then also that the Democrat Party doesn't let their constituents pick the candidate. Are you nuts? That's something they used to do before, I don't know, 2000. I guess 2008 was the last time that it wasn't someone that was, I don't know, because maybe Barack was preferred by the donors and the big party machine too. But they certainly turned the screws in 2012, 2016, 2020, and then definitely 2004, because not one Democrat voter, one Democrat primary picked Kamala Harris. So that she was just forced upon all Team Blue. And they took it. They took it like good little sheep, like good little robots, like good little pets. Yes, this is our candidate. Fine. We all support him. The other guy's Hitler. Whatever you say. But I think this is good for Gavin Newsom. And because it's good for Gavin Newsom, I don't think this is going to stop. I think this is going to get worse. It's not worse right now, but wait till tonight. We're going to sit here tomorrow, and there's a greater than 50% chance I'm going to be telling you, I told you it was going to get worse. We're just having fun with the Los Angeles riots. And not to diminish the suffering and the property damage and the danger and the people who were hurt and the suffering of the cops or whatever. But watching this stuff from afar is so easy for you and me because we don't have riots in our town. We don't allow riots around here. It is a choice. Is it an elective pastime to have riots rage for now, 4 days? And they keep doing these live pictures on the TV screens over here, and it's still going on. And I have a sneaking suspicion that by the time we come join together again tomorrow at this time, I'm going to be telling you, last night was even worse, wasn't it? The escalation, make no doubt about it, the escalation would help Gavin Newsom. The escalation would help Karen Bass. For some reason, they think this is good for them. For some reason, the people on the ground that are running around setting cars on fire and then doing donuts around car fires, waving the Mexican flag, they think this is good for your cause. Bro, it's not. And we've all made the joke. No one loves Mexico more than people who refuse to live there. There's so many just obvious contradictions here on the ground. But I think one of the cutest ones is the media rediscovering the term mostly peaceful or peaceful protests. Because, if you want to put that standard on there and the rationale is, well, yeah, out of the tens of thousands of people that showed up in the Los Angeles streets, maybe 500 of them committed some property damage. So that's like, less than 5%. So it's overwhelmingly peaceful. Now, we first got a good giggle at this during the George Floyd riots, when the guy on TV on CNN had burning buildings behind him and was telling you this is a mostly peaceful protest. And it said on the caption at the bottom of the screen on CNN, mostly peaceful protest. And then for January 6th, that was supposed to be the scariest day in American history. Oh my God, it was an out of control riot and we almost lost our entire democracy. Shut up. Nothing even caught on fire. They didn't knock over one statue in Statuary Hall. Now, there were some goobers that hit cops with poles, and I saw one guy bear spray the cops. They need to get thrown in jail, thrown under the jail. But here's how ABC 7, the local ABC affiliate, was covering this over the weekend. This was their Friday night report. What's today? No, this was their Saturday report. Mostly peaceful protest again.
Back here, like most of the afternoon and evening, demonstrations had been going on right outside the Federal Detention Center. Most of those demonstrators were very peaceful. They were chanting, they were shouting. People were driving by, honking their horns. And again, they were expressing their anger about the detention of so many immigrants at the Federal Center.
Does it sound peaceful, or does it sound like the movie Dune is happening in the background? Because that's what it sounded like. It didn't sound like people were just chilling, sitting on their lawn chairs, cracking a cold beer on a Saturday afternoon. Sounded like there was pretty a big cloud of chaos behind. I had to cut out the 20 seconds at the beginning of her report, and then she went to like some package, and then that was her tag on the end of it. In her lead into the package, there was some guy behind going, F Trump, and throwing double birds on camera, F Trump. So, yeah, just a bunch of peaceful, fun-loving guys out there. They were so sweet. This was their report last night on the escalating protest.
Are there 3 on fire? It looks like 3 are on fire.
Yeah.
But there are 5 Waymos in that area, but
Sure,
3 are on fire.
It's a precarious situation. You want to maintain control and get order back in the city, but if you try and do so in a certain way, you're going to devolve here into some really bad confrontations. And so it could turn very volatile if you move law enforcement in there in the wrong way and turn what is just a bunch of people having fun watching cars burn into a massive confrontation and altercation between officers and demonstrators.
Yeah, people are just having fun watching cars burn. What in the heck level of Orwellian reporting is this? They're just having fun watching cars burn. Yeah, it's a mostly peaceful protest. Yeah, 3 Waymo cars are on fire, but there's 5 cars. It's not like they burned all the cars. You bunch of crazy right-wing idiots. I love how they have to, because they have no choice. They can't come out and say, well, look, our people are out of control again. Upset Democrats are setting crap on fire. I love it. Brian Stelter, somehow they let that potato-looking guy back on CNN. He said the same thing, mostly peaceful protests.
And we recognize that the unrest is isolated, is not overtaking the entire city of LA. LA is home to millions of people. And what they're doing is they are lumping together peaceful protesters with violent rioters and arguing the whole thing is a mess. And thus, President Trump is right to send in the National Guard.
Yeah, there's some buildings that aren't on fire. There's some cars that are still drivable in LA. Until we get to that point, it's not the whole city that's in a riot. Shut up. Who is believing this stuff? Who even has the cojones to listen to that and not say, all right, you guys are way off your rocker? 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Coming up next, you're going to hear Cory Booker lay down what I think is the blueprint for the narrative they're going to try and get out of this. But do you think this is going to help them or hurt them overall? Is this going to push people into Team Blue or away from Team Blue? 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. I don't think it'll work. You'll hear it next on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.